Due to the following CBS School Break special, Magnum PI will not be seen today. It will be broadcast tomorrow in the regular time period.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
I'm Sal Abenanti, and I'm here on Kickstarter to ask for your support to produce my 115-page color graphic novel, The Hostage. Hostage is set in the streets of Rio de Janeiro, based on the plight of the street children that live in the favelas. In the world of the graphic novel, being murdered daily, and the hostage is the evil spirit that is raised to avenge their death. Origins go all the way back to the indigenous tribes of the Amazon as the spirits that protect children, especially murdered children. The level of death that these kids have to endure every day. They have nowhere to sleep. They have no place to eat. They have to survive off of begging. There were nobody in capes that were coming to save these kids.
Hiya.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm off my game. Sorry, it's Word Balloon Live. John Suntress here, and you caught a little bit of Jamie Farr there. I hope you noticed that. But we could play that some other time if you want.
I will happily leave if Jamie Farr wants to join. I will walk off. I will enjoy the conversation. You can put me in the background. I would love it.
Let me tell you, man. Seriously, like best $100 we spent on Cameo last year. Getting Jamie Farr to talk about comic books for 3 minutes, and he's do you know he's a massive comic book fan?
I didn't know that, but you know what? That makes me like him even more.
He put up, Jules Pfeiffer's Comic Book Heroes book.
Mm-hmm.
He put that up, and he put up another softcover like encyclopedia of comic strip heroes, and his name checking the Spectre and Hawkman. Forget about the obvious and stuff. And he's like, I met Bob Kane. He did a Batman sketch for me.
Well, that's so funny because like the guy he replaced on MASH, there's all those jokes of Radar trading Captain Marvel comic books with Sparky.
Yes. And there's one, too, where he's asleep, and I think it's anachronistic because it's a Marvel Avengers cover, obviously from the 60s and obviously during the Korean War. But it's funny because we asked him, who is Jason Inman, everybody, here to talk about his
I guess we should talk. We should probably clarify that for the audio listeners.
Shortly, absolutely. Well, you got the usual Word Balloon intro, but absolutely. But we're like, hey, who was Klinger's favorite superhero? Knowing that we knew about Radar, and I think at first we were worried. He's like, you're getting me mixed up with Radar, and I emailed Jamie Berghoff, and he told me his favorite hero was Captain Marvel, and I knew that. But he goes, if you're asking me, Jamie Farr, I'm a big comic book fan. And we even found a daytime talk show clip from the 70s, the Mike Douglas show, and he's co-hosting. And it's listed as Mike Douglas and Wendy Pinney because at the end of the clip, she pops in as Red Sonja in her classic cosplay from the 70s. Quite the convincing Red Sonja. She did a hell of a job back then. Truly, God bless her. But anyway, he is on with Phil Suling, the original comic convention creator of New York, and the guy who really developed the direct market, was really one of the first comic vendors going, and selling old comics and stuff. Well, anyway, he comes in with a bunch of Golden Age comics, Bullet Man, he's got Captain Marvel, and Jamie Farr is name and verse like, Oh, I had that. Oh, one of my favorite heroes. And Buddy Lester, one of the old Catskill comedians, and Mike Douglas are almost making fun of Jamie Farr. Like, really, you're into this stuff? Really interesting, But Jamie Farr unabashedly. Chaikin sent me that clip.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. Like when those worlds collide. Because I can remember one of the first times I watched the Beatles Help, and if you look in that movie, it is very quick. But when they're in their amazing, awesome apartment, John Lennon sits down at the piano and he's playing, and all of the sheet music are Jimmy Olsen comic books.
Oh, that's hilarious! I've never noticed that.
Yeah, and you can find all these behind the scenes pictures of Paul McCartney reading Jimmy Olsen while they're filming Help.
Now maybe I've seen those photos because you say that, and God, of course, Bendis got Ringo to have Ultimate Spider-Man in his hands, and that was like a badge of honor for Bendis.
Yeah. Oh,
so
man.
I know that was pretty cool. But
by the way, I also want to say that like if we just want to sit here and watch Magnum PI for an hour, I'm fine with that as well.
I figured absolutely. Seriously, that has been my mission: is finding due to our special programming, Chico and the Man will not be seen tonight. and I've got several. The first one I found was Ironside.
Oh, nice!
This great pudgy Raymond Burns with that scowl on his face. Ironside will not be seen tonight. A lot of Bob Hope specials.
Yeah.
So
is that only for the Word Balloon Lives, or is that also where the podcast listeners get to hear those as well?
I haven't put them on.
You should put them. See, because I will fully admit I listen to the audio podcast, and then I catch you every once in a while. And I'll see you because I have the notification set up, and I'll always chime in. But that would give me such delight. Like every one of these, it's like. I don't know the legality of that, but like to hear like Chico and the Man or Jake and the Fat Man can't be presented tonight.
They're literally like 5 seconds long. I suppose if they really wanted to chase me, I guess, but they're really not. I mean,
if they wanted to come after you for the nickel.
And thankfully the YouTube algorithm hasn't outed me. So and I've been getting these from tapeworms that back in the day would run their VCRs. I mean, my God, there was an entire, as community of VCR bootlegs of television. And thank God a lot of this shit is on YouTube because honestly, sadly, again, as being in my mid-50s, it's nostalgia time. I mean, I love seeing those things. And I don't remember the exact specials, but certainly formatically, and it just, I'll watch for 10 minutes. And the commercials even are great.
I've always thought about that with certain YouTube things to be, who is the person that decided I want to upload that full episode of Danger Man or whatever.
Right. But I love it. I'm so glad they do because there aren't so many shows that aren't even on DVD.
Yeah. That
I've heard of and stuff. And then like, I wonder if there's any. God, we're doing Outer Limits every Thursday with Gabe Hardman, occasionally Jeff Parker, occasionally Andy Parks, Ian Brill.
Are you doing the original or are you doing the remake?
We're doing the original.
Are you going to do the remake eventually?
I don't think Gabe's interest isn't in the remake. I like the remake a lot.
I came across the remake first.
Of course,
obviously.
Sure,
and then I went back, and I always remember there's a weird one with there's one with Beau Bridges and Lloyd Bridges.
I know for a fact Beau Bridges did the pilot and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they both did it. And I love the fact that Beau Bridges leaned into sci-fi as his career progressed.
Yeah, he's on Stargate and stuff like that. But
absolutely.
Man, that's great. Yeah, I think the new one, because Leonard Nimoy's in one of the new ones as well.
Well, and it's great because, and it's funny, Gabe's main interest is in the first season, and I understand why.
Yeah.
Because Conrad Hall, the famous cinematographer, that's why a lot of those first season ones are just so beautifully shot with shadows and very atmospheric, incredibly atmospheric. He didn't stick around for the second season. Same with Joe Stefano, who was the co-creator and, guy who wrote Psycho.
Yeah.
Great writer. Obviously was part of the production team on the 90s version as well. But his best stuff, and he left after the first season. So that was Gabe's focus. I convinced him to probably at least do the best second season episodes because that's when the Harlan Ellison shit pops up.
Yeah.
And the two of the best Robert Culps. And, or one of the best Robert Culps. I always forget Soldier is actually Kang from Star Trek, Michael Ansara.
Oh, and also he's Mr. Freeze in Batman the Animated Series.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's one of the most amazing, like just stunning voices in that entire show. And yeah, he's fantastic. He's probably the best Klingon in the original series. Well,
oh my god!
I mean, I'm a big fan of. Is it who's core? Is it John Colicos?
Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah.
No, he's incredible too, and it's great because they both are coming from different angles, and even Koloth, William Campbell,
to play Tulane.
Yes, indeed, of course. My God, and is in Love Me Tender with Elvis. Fascinating career, William Campbell. If you really go through his IMDb, really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated the idea of having all three of them on Deep Space Nine and friends, and really like allies and everything. And they all just were coming at different angles, and it's great. And it's a shame that we only got the one episode with them. And the more of the Kalikos ones, because he was so fucking good as Clark.
Yeah, he shows up 2 more times.
Yes.
And he's great in every episode.
His finale, my God. Oh, it's so fucking great.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, yeah. You know me, dude. Can't talk enough Star Trek. God bless you.
Oh, we can talk Star Trek till the cows come home.
Well, and I know, but I know time is limited. And I understand that. No, and we're good. We got plenty of time, everybody, I promise. And, obviously... Jason is here to talk about his Kickstarter that has gotten underway and is doing quite well. Super Best Friend.
That's correct. Yeah. We funded in 11 hours, which is amazing. So
that's excellent. Man.
So now anybody that comes and checks it out, it's just a pre-order.
You're
guaranteed to get the book.
That's outstanding. And again, that's the best explanation of Kickstarter. Really is a pre-order system.
Yep.
And I do think, isn't it great? 10 years later, obviously, I believe the comic audience has really wised up. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Sal Abenati, who, is already doing well with Hostage. Shelley Bond has got her thing going. Friday, I spoke to Steve Bryant. I mean, it's really been, and I'm totally cool with this because you're all my friends and I believe in every one of your projects. But really, it's been a great Kickstarter season, to be honest, from the end of January into February.
I think it's crazy because, I read that article that 2020 was the biggest year for Kickstarter ever in terms of comic books, and it makes sense because the shops were shut down and stuff like that, and I love it because I love making comic books on Kickstarter just because it takes out all the middlemen. Like you're interacting directly with the fans. It is you with them. You can take suggestions from them. You can suggest, because we became funded. Like my second stretch goal now is a foil cover, which is, very 90s and very goofy. And I haven't revealed like the full image of it, but I specifically had, my artist is Brian Lopez for that. And I specifically like gave him an old Howard Porter cover. And I was like, kind of like make it feel like this, like kind of homage this old like JLA Howard Porter cover.
Cool.
Because I'm leaning into it, man. This is comic books and I want it to be fun. And foil covers is like the craziest and most extravagant comic book thing you can ever do, and that's like the perfect thing for Kickstarter. And so far, most of the backers have been like, "Yeah, go for it, let's get there." Super Best Friend is a 48-page superhero comic book. It is in the tone of Jimmy Olsen and Superman and Amazing Spider-Man, Booster Gold, all them. It's basically like, what if the world's greatest superhero had a best friend who live streamed his every adventure. And this best friend is named Matty Moore, who is obviously a take of Jimmy Olsen. And his best friend is Captain Terrific, who is obviously an archetype of Superman. And over the course of his YouTube, we don't call it YouTube, his live streaming channel, Matty Moore accidentally gives away the secret identity of Captain Terrific. So it's basically like, this is take all the Silver Age goofiness and fun amazingness of Jimmy Olsen and combine it with modern social media, modern live streaming. Yeah. And this is kind of like, this book is 100% inspired by like my time on DC All Access and like sort of, talking about superheroes for 24/7 and like, what does that mean? And is that important? Does that matter? And that's kind of all of that baked into this comic book.
That's awesome, man. I've got the video set up. A
lot of it's just me, so.
No, that's okay. No, and that's great. And it will inspire, I think, more discussion and more questions, and hopefully from the audience as well. So at home, use your monitors, but here's Jason's pitch for Super Best Friend.
Hey, super friends and super enemies. Yeah, especially you. I'm Jason Inman, the writer and creator of the new superhero comic book, Super Best Friend.
Super Best Friend.
We all love superheroes. But the question I really want to figure out with Super Best Friend is, what if you were a best friend?
Best friend.
With the world's greatest superhero? I mean, think about it. If superheroes existed in our world, their every exploit would be tweeted, it would be Facebooked, it would be TikTok to kingdom come. We'd be celebrating their victories over robot overlords. We would be retweeting their smiles with their animal sidekicks. And that's exactly what Matty Moore, the super best friend in Super Best Friend, does. He live streams all the adventures of the world's greatest superhero. Oh, by the way, speaking of animal sidekicks, kitty break. Now that I have your attention again, check out some of this art. Look at that. Fantastic. Excellent. Or should I say, super.
Best friend.
Now, Matty Moore is a super fan. He's a best friend of the world's greatest superhero, Captain Terrific. Matty Moore records the acts of heroism for the world to see on his channel, lovingly called Super Best Friend.
Super Best Friend.
Now, these videos have garnered Matty fame, celebrity, even friendships with other superheroes in the world. But what happens when Matty records the wrong thing on his channel? Villains will attack, and this will start Matty on his journey from sidekick to superhero. This comic is 48 pages of a grand Silver Age adventure with a modern twist, because I love superhero stories told in a grand fashion. I especially love the word grand and fashion. I love it all. That's why this book is so important. This is the story that the big two publishers would never tell with their main superheroes, and that is the energy and the style and the adventure of Super Best Friend.
Super Best Friend.
This is my love letter to Silver Age comic books, and my love letter, double love letter, to superhero comic books, because I'm just like you. I'm a super best friend. Newsflash! This book has art by George Kembadais. Been wanting to work with him for a long time, so look at that art. Check it out. See those curves? The depth of his line. I also pulled in my good friend Taylor Esposito, my Jupiter Jet bud and bro, to provide letters. We have a stunning superhero team to deliver a book for all of our super friends. All right, check it. I'm going to Insta some pictures of some superheroes to all my friends, while my secret identity tells you why this book is so important. Take it away, secret identity. Thanks, Other Jason. Super friends, this is my 6th crowdfunding campaign. So you can be guaranteed that the comic book will be of professional standard, and also that it will be delivered to you in a timely manner. We guarantee that it will arrive on your doorstep before we even think about Super Best Friend Issue 2. What's that you say? Yeah, that's correct. The funds that are raised during this Kickstarter will not only be used to create all your amazing rewards and to print the issue, but some of it will be used to create Super Best Friend Issue 2. So the more you donate and the more you share, the faster we can make that happen. Oh, I just got an email. I get to read Super Best Friend issue number 1 early.
Super Best Friend.
I'm going to go tweet about this. Back to you, Other Jason. Exactly, Other Jason. Super Best Friend only happens with your support, because we love delivering comic books straight to the hands of the superhero fans that desperately love them. And if you followed any of our other campaigns, you know that I love to throw some trading cards into your package. So pledge early, pledge often, and shout it to the rooftops. Also, if you know someone in the universe that likes superhero comic books, tell them about Super Best Friend.
Super Best Friend.
Once we hit our goals, once we hit our stretch goals, we can then make the next issue of Super Best Friend happen. And we can create some astounding new rewards for our super friends, for our backers. Did somebody say hologram trading card? Whisper it into the universe. We need fun, adventurous, exciting superhero comic books in the world today. And we're gonna make it happen together. So come along, super friends, and be my super best friend.
Super best friend.
You know you want to make it happen.
All right, there we go. Well done, man. Excellent.
I don't think I could have said it any better myself.
Well, I know, and you did good, man. And honestly, I give you credit. You well produced and direct to the point. And hey, everything you claim, Jason, is absolutely true.
Yeah, I read it. I let you read the book early.
Well, now exactly. Not only for this story, but as far as fulfillment, and you know what you're doing with Kickstarter. You have built this great audience through your time online, whether it's been at DC Access or the Schmoedowns that you've done over the years. And I mean, really, you've cultivated this terrific audience. And, you know, you're putting your money where your mouth is. You've always produced really fun books, Jupiter Jet, Science, and now I'm blanking beyond that right now. But
Super Soldiers is the other one, yeah.
Well, Super Soldiers, your prose book, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, that's...
Thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. No, this is terrific. So normally you do collaborate with Ashley Robinson, your wife, and find a co-partner in the world. Am I correct? Are you guys married? Forgive me, I never asked.
Yeah, we're married. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I assume so, but I wasn't.
It's all good.
There you go. And I love Ash, but yeah, how come this is just you and your art team and everything, and not Ash?
Well, it's just one of these. I've actually been working on this book since 2018, and Captain Terrific is a character that I created in a one-act play when I was in college, a long, long time ago, and he was a comedic character. And the first that we did Captain Terrific and two other stories in anthologies that I actually did co-write with Ashley. But when I started just like playing around with this in 2018, I was just doing it on my own, just in terms of, let's see what this is. And then eventually I decided to get George to draw the story, and it just seemed right to, by the time I even thought about producing this, I basically had already written the first issue.
Cool.
So, it was like, well, it's already done. Sorry, honey.
That's awesome.
This is very similar to how, she did Aurora and the Eagle last year. We'll still complete Jupiter Jet. We'll still do it together. I'm certain we're going to do a sequel to Science and other things like that. But it just like for Super Best Friend, it just seemed like, no, this is the one I want to do. Like I'm going to go out here by myself and go out. It's like Christian. It's like Christopher Nolan not working every movie with Michael Caine. It's like every once in a while he's going to do one without Michael Caine. Then he's going to come back and do one with Michael Caine. Then he's going to do something else. And then he's going to come back to Michael Caine.
I'm with you. That's fantastic. That's excellent. So, well, just like you, man, I'm a massive Silver Age fan. The Jimmy Olsen comics were amazing, and also just in general, and we could really go into detail that the role of sidekick is really important to any good superhero dynamic, and even more so the civilian sidekick, because they are our perspective character. And I mean, honestly, my personal favorite. I mean, Jimmy Olsen is great, and even the nuanced things that I think Bendis has done with the character to modernize him a bit. And others, Chuck Austin had a great Jimmy Olsen story. You might remember Adam Boy. I'm glad you do. That's the thing. So I think a lot of people, certainly Fraction and Lieber, had a blast doing those 12 issues of Jimmy Olsen lately.
And
for
me, the series was great.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you, my favorite civilian to hero relationship is Daredevil and Foggy Nelson.
It's so funny because a lot of people, of course, the question I've been getting a lot with Super Best Friend is they're like, who do you think Maddie Moore is the most like? And I've said Foggy every time.
That's awesome.
I'm like, he's more like Foggy than he is Jimmy Olsen, actually.
Well, truly, because, you could be the hero's conscience.
Yep.
And Foggy started off goofy back in the 60s, but really in the right hands, whether it was, Miller, Brubaker, Rucka, Bendis, whomever, really my soul right up to Zdarsky and everything. It's like No, Foggy's really, really important. Mark Waid as well. I mean, it's,
and I also think the Netflix show did a really good job about making him such a really, and not just a joke, like a really capable lawyer. Because that's the brilliance about Foggy, and that's some of the stuff I was inspired by writing Maddie in Super Best Friend, was this idea that Maddie has a set of skills that the hero can't use, or that he just doesn't know how to use, and so Maddie can use this. And the same with Foggy. Like, there's so many times where Matt Murdock should just have listened to Foggy, just listen to him, perform by the letter of the law, and just made it happen.
Right, or even just not recognizing when he's losing control, and it's like, hey, you're nuts right now. Step back for a minute. No, but truly, that is the greatest strength, and only makes a hero stronger. That there's a counterweight to them to be able to say, hey, you're fucking up, or whatever. And it's like, no, that's really good, and that's important. And also, it just shows that, I mean, it's just too easy for the knight to be on his lone quest. And it's like, no, he should have somebody to talk to, and it just makes for better drama.
Yeah, and it's always great. It's like thinking about like Sherlock and Watson, and the idea that Sherlock and Watson are incomplete, but together they're a complete person. And it's very similar with Captain Terrific and Matty Moore, because Captain Terrific is, I take him a little bit further than you would Superman, where he's very much about like caring for people, and he's concerned with protecting the innocent. Like, he absolutely does not want innocents to be hurt. And so because of that, he tends to solve a lot of the superhero stuff by himself. And his big lesson is to learn to like help people, to let people help him. And then Matty Moore on the other side is this person that he doesn't believe that he has any skills. He believes all the superheroes are the ones that are like skilled and famous and all this stuff like that. And so he's going to learn the opposite lesson, and of course, Matty's going to have to help Captain Terrific, and Captain Terrific's going to have to teach Matty how to, so like it all like together, they're going to become like more complete people.
That's awesome, man. Oh, here's a nice thing. And especially given that you showed your cat on the video.
Yeah.
But is it Jiku Riho, let's say?
That's what I would guess.
And I love, is that a Corto Maltese Hugo Pratt icon?
You tell me.
I'm assuming it is, but I could be wrong, and it might be a manga that I'm not recognizing. But that's sad. His dog passed away today.
Sorry.
His dog Ace, named after the Bat Hound, one of the great super pets, of course.
And one of the great sidekicks.
Absolutely. Our condolences, man. That sucks.
Sorry to hear that. It was one of these things. Yeah, a lot of the audio listeners, I put a lot of Brago, my cat, into
that's true. You didn't say
the video. Hey, man, you got a cute cat. You got to use it to sell. You know what I'm saying?
No, cat videos. I mean, no, you're right about that. That's absolutely what people get excited about. Now, I have to confess, I was a little bummed your orange cat wasn't named Streaky, but that's all right.
Oh, that's true. Well, that's a Lord of the Rings reference, Brago.
See, well, then, all right, you're forgiven. There you go.
Yeah, that's Aragorn's horse. And
did not even remember that. That's outstanding. Yeah. When I was 7 years old, we got our dog. My sister was 12, and it was really her dog. But he was a little white with black face Cocker Spaniel. And I'm like, come on, it's got to be Crypto. It's got to be Crypto. And she's like, yeah, dream on. Like, it's never going to happen. And he became Whiskers, but we called him Whisk because he was fast. So I like that he was called Whisk. So.
I love that recently I saw the picture of the Crypto that they're going to use in Titans. And I thought he looked great. I love that he was a rescue dog. I thought that was a really nice move.
I agree. Yeah, now that was a case where the dog worked out. Mm-hmm. Apparently on Star Trek Picard, dog was a little ornery. So
oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's what I thought I had read and heard, and I even thought perhaps on the Ready Room they even had mentioned that they're like, well, he wasn't as camera cooperative as we would have liked to, and maybe that's why the role diminished. But who knows?
I knew that about The Boys. And The Boys season 2 when they introduced Terror. Yep. The only reason why Terror is in one season is because he apparently wasn't a big fan of Carl Urban. So they had to. They could only get like a certain shots where like the dog would actually go to Carl Urban.
I understand. God, my favorite thing like that behind the scenes was Silver and Scout, the Lone Ranger and Thanos horses, hated each other. And there were a lot of scenes when they were side to side on saddles, and it was just high enough on the camera that you didn't know they were sitting on sawhorses because the horses hated each other. So
really?
Yep.
Oh my God. I had no idea about that.
That's hilarious. And I was correct. Quarter Maltese, Hugo Pratt. Sure, man. Oh, there you go. Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
And here's to the Mind University. Very nice.
That's a Geek History fan right there.
Absolutely. That's fantastic, man. Yeah, if you've never read Hugo Pratt's stuff.
I have not.
Amazing. Dude, thank God as I got older, I really started to reach for a lot of international books. And the Franco-Belgian stuff is just amazing and continues to be. And I'm really, it's got to be translated. Obviously, South American comics, same thing. I really got to, and it was great by the time I met him, Eduardo Risso. I was able to talk to him about a lot of his solo books, along with everything he's done with
We've been watching a lot of foreign TV recently, inspired by Lupin, because we watched Lupin on Netflix, which I thought was great. I
was going to say, tell me how is that show?
Oh, it's solid, right? Man. It definitely checks the box for that Sherlock thing, like you're missing that Sherlock. It feels very much like BBC Sherlock, where there are some things where you're just like, well, that's a little silly and that's a little goofy, but the show is just so fun, and the main actor, whose name I'm blanking on right now, is so good. He was the gentleman that played Bishop in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I will literally Google his name because he is amazing. He's so good that Omar Sy, you're willing to let everything go. It's so fun. It's
is it French with subtitles?
Yes, it is subtitles. It's French subtitles the entire way through.
Dude, I'm a massive Eurocrime fan. Christ, going back to the 70s for that matter. But always, went back when we went to indie theaters, whenever there was like a Eurocrime little indie movie. God, I loved Polar, Victor Santos, his two graphic novels. And the Netflix adaptation of that I thought was quite good.
Oh, is that the Mads Mikkelsen one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I saw that one. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. You should definitely watch Lupin. It's really good. I mean, there's a reason why they filmed the whole season, apparently. Like, they filmed all 10 episodes. They only released the first 5 for Netflix. But the show blew up, so Netflix is going to put the other 5 this summer.
Sure, like they do with, everything. Obviously Lucifer and, other shows like that. That's cool. That's great. Very cool. Good to know, man. There you go.
Definitely check it out. And then
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say
your turn.
I'm too behind on WandaVision, which is ridiculous, but I've just been savoring it and taking my time. But I'll catch it. And it's of course amazing.
It's really good. It's so weird. I actually was, at the time I was recording, I was not the biggest fan of the 4th episode.
Oh.
And I can't, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to say anything.
I haven't, but I certainly have heard about, it hasn't been spoiled for me, but everyone's like, that's really where the key turns. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like the first couple without having everything explained to me.
Yes, I felt the same way. Episode 4 is very much the most, that's more like it's very modern Marvel movie. That's what it is.
Okay.
And so that's, I think, the reason why I didn't jibe with it as much, because the other ones were, so about the mystery box and leaning into Bewitched and the Brady Bunch and all this stuff. And I was like, that's what I want, man. That's what I want. So to get just when they did here's normal Marvel stuff, which there's nothing wrong with, and it didn't mean that it's bad. I just was like, no, I want to see another. Give me the give me the Cosby Show.
Yeah, that's true. If you want to keep progressing decades, absolutely, that would make sense. That's very funny.
Or
Baines or
I was gonna say Carter. What's it? Charles in Charge.
Charles in Charge. Horrible show.
Yes, but a great theme song.
Family Ties, maybe Family Ties.
Oh, maybe it will be Family Ties. Well, I saw one of the trailers for WandaVision. There is a clip where she talks to the camera, so I assume that they're going to do Modern Family or the Office.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. That'll be interesting. I hope so. And God, I love the neighbor, and I can't think of her name, but I've loved every comedy thing she's ever done.
Catherine Hahn?
Yes.
Yeah. She's really good in, there's this HBO show called Mrs. Fletcher.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yep. I enjoy that show. Even her little bits in We're the Millers, or I can't think of other films right now. Am I right? Isn't that same person?
I think so. It's so funny because when she first popped on a WandaVision, I thought she was Anna Gasteyer. Because she looks
Yes,
very
and
similar
that-
Anna
yes,
Gasteyer.
She does. And no, that is who I'm talking about. And yes, I think facially they do look alike.
Yeah, I thought it was Anna Gasteyer, and then I
Oh,
was like, oh no, it's Mrs. Fletcher.
Yep. No, it's that's cool. And I was trying to think of who the haughty social club head of the neighborhood was.
She is from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's what I thought. And is it Anna or yeah?
It's Anya. It's Anya from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. You know, she was making comic books for 2 seconds.
Was she really?
Yeah, with Christian. I want to say
Emma Caulfield is her
Emma
name.
Caulfield. Yeah, I thought it was Emma Caulfield. I wasn't
Did she
certain.
make comic books? That's crazy. Good for
Yeah,
her.
I mean, well, she, you know, because of the con scene, and you know, she would do Buffy. You know, she'd do shows, do signings and stuff. And yeah, I know she did one Kickstarter, and maybe it didn't go well, but it was like some sort of cat comic, back to cats again.
Oh wow, I can't imagine that it wouldn't do well. That's crazy.
But no, and she was very nice. I met her either in New York or C2E2, one of the two. Very nice lady. Very nice.
You know, let's talk about this because this will like be right up your vibe.
Sure.
I finally got Ashley Victoria Robinson to watch The Prisoner.
Yay!
So we're 2 episodes in.
Wow, that's great. And are you going in proper, you know, the regular sequence of the show?
Yeah, is there? I've done a little bit of reading about people like undoing the order, but like then I found an interview where Patrick McGoohan was just like, he was like, it doesn't matter the order.
It doesn't matter.
So I was like, if the executive producer says the order doesn't matter, then the order doesn't matter.
I would just, and I hate using the word penultimate because I think it's a very haughty way to say next to last. But I would say the first episode watch first, then the second to last episode, and then of course the finale.
Yeah, because the second to last episode is the one where him and number 2 like get locked in a room, right?
Yep, and it is the number 2 of the second episode.
The best number 2.
Chimes of Big Ben. I love Leo McKern. I'm a massive Rumpole of the Bailey fan. Going back to the late 70s when I first was watching it on Masterpiece Theater. And I love Leo McKern, and that's a great lawyer detective show. It's hilarious and just, I mean, John Mortimer was a genius writer. I'm such a fan of his writing.
It's so interesting because The Prisoner is a show that I only saw because, you know, when I grew up in middle of nowhere, Kansas, we didn't have cable. And if you didn't want to watch the networks, you could watch PBS. And then like 10:30 on a Saturday night, sometimes there would be The Prisoner. And I remember seeing that show and just breaking my brain to be like, what the hell is this? And I didn't get to see all of them until I got to college and I was able to get the DVD set.
Sure.
So I didn't see... I was never able to see Arrival, the first one, and I was never able to see Fallout until I got to college. I would just see random smattering ones. And this is pre-internet, basically, too. So I was always like, does he get out? Like, how did the show end? What happened?
Yep. He's the best. McGoohan is so... I love Danger Man and Secret Agent, both the half-hour episodes and the full hours. I loved his turns on Columbo as a bad guy. He had an incredible career.
He directed episodes of Columbo, I read.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. No, he had a great relationship with Peter Falk. And really the one where he's the Boys Military Academy commandant is just a classic episode. And at times he's unrecognizable because they grade his hair. He's wearing glasses. He's great as the warden in
Escape from Alcatraz.
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Not Escape from...
No.
Was it?
I'm getting mixed up.
Wasn't it?
I think it is Escape from Alcatraz.
Yes, I believe it is because I'm getting that now mixed up with Brubaker.
It's the Clint Eastwood one.
It is the Clint Eastwood
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as the asshole in Silver Streak with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
Yeah, and then I remember... And then Braveheart, you know, him as Longshanks.
Longshanks the king, absolutely.
But he's sort of, so funny, once he left The Prisoner, he sort of does become unrecognizable because he grows his hair and he usually has a beard and he doesn't look like number 6 at all.
There's a slow, but again, I love him so much, intense Irish spy film he made that we'll look it up while we're talking. That was on Amazon if you had Prime. And I think you're not talking about Station Zebra, are you? No, I Station Zebra's a classic.
I Station Zebra, yeah.
That was a Howard Hughes favorite, actually.
Yes, that's a good movie.
And it absolutely is, and it's an all-star cast. But no, this was like called. It's him and Lee Van Cleef.
What?
Here it is. Okay. Oh, now, all right, it is still on. All right, now it's on Prime through IMDb TV, so you'll get commercials if you can stand
That's
them.
fine.
But yeah, and I'm the same way, man. I know people that are like they've had it with commercials.
I mean, I don't know, man. I'll tell you this. I've almost had it with, as a person who works in television, I've almost had it with the 50,000 different streaming services. IMDb TV and Tubi, and like, you're like, God, I only need 2.
And I agree with you, but thank God Tubi's free.
Yes.
And IMDb TV is free with Amazon, I guess, with Prime at least.
Well, yeah,
Although
and then there's Pluto TV, and there's just like
Pluto,
all these.
Stir is Sinclair's version of Pluto. No, man, I hear you. No, and again, the free ones with commercials, I'm totally cool with that. And there's like Tubi has a ton of amazing gems from great foreign stuff and amazing anime and things like that. To hey, again, showing my age. Hey, remember this TNA movie from Cinemax? Yes, I do. Well, there it is, and it's uncut, and it's like, oh, great, cool, hilarious.
Let me ask your thoughts on this. And this is a conversation that I've been having a lot in 2021. At this point, is it ridiculous? I think it's ridiculous when there's a TV show or a movie that's not streaming. Because at this point, with all the different, like there is at least 100 streaming services now.
You're right.
How is every studio not just, okay, let's unlock it from the vault? Because, right now we're making nothing on it, but maybe we'll make $3.99 if somebody buys it.
I completely agree. I think, not to pick on them, but I think Peacock is a classic example. It's universal. Mm-hmm. They literally have over 100 years of films to choose from. Mm-hmm. And it's decent. And certainly the new stuff they're making, a lot of it, I would say, is absolutely interesting.
Yeah.
But it disappoints me as a film buff that a lot of classic, beyond the obvious, they've got all the Dracula movies, they've got all the Frankenstein movies, The Mummy, even Abbott and Costello. They're not that deep on Abbott and Costello. It's
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and that does disappoint me as such an old film buff. And
you would think, because I know the white whale of Universal that everybody talks about is Homicide: Life in the Street, which I agree with. But I've always heard that it's like a music rights nightmare. But you would think for Peacock, Homicide: Life on the Street would have been the one that they would be like, we got to get this one on here, because this has been like I think a lot of people would watch it.
I completely agree with you. No, you're right about that. And and obviously that you're right. Music rights. I mean, there's even like on CBS All Access, there's a handful of Taxi episodes that rely heavily on hit music. Obviously, WKRP, that was a problem. Miami Vice, that was a problem for years before they finally squared it all.
Well, Batman 66 was the same way too. Like there were that was, I don't know if it was like pop music, but it was like there was a rights issue with the scores.
Oh, that's interesting, because I know also it was the whole Fox made the show.
Yeah, it was that too.
But DC and Warner Brothers own the rights to the character, and thank God they finally untangled all of that. Well, so are there episodes of Batman 66 that they don't play because of music issues?
I don't know. No, I think they released them all, but I remember when they were fighting to get them onto Blu-ray, like it was the little bit of the studio, but it was also a little bit that there were a couple composers on there that were like, I'm not releasing my music.
Interesting. Wow. That's surprising. Yeah, man. So, and I know I loved when Leslie Gore, the old 60s pop queen that did It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want to, she, as Catwoman's sidekick, she had a crush on Robin, and she sings to a picture of Robin, Burt Ward in the full outfit. And
I don't think I've seen that one.
And she's singing California Nights, which was one of her minor but still significant top 40 hits. And the Catmen henchmen are wearing the ears, and they got the striped tiger shirts on, and they're like bopping their heads to California Night.
Well, is it a plus or a negative that modern television doesn't do that stuff that often? Because there is a legendary story out there, speaking of Star Trek, that in the 3rd or 4th season of Star Trek Enterprise, UPN went to Rick Berman and Brannon Braga and said, we want to get a boy band to play in the mess hall. And Brandenburg was like, we're in space. Where the hell were they supposed to come from? Like, we're out in the final frontier. Where the hell does this band come from?
Was it In Sync, or did they have a specific band?
They say it. The rumor is that was In Sync or the Backstreet Boys, but they never confirm it, so I don't know.
Okay.
But oh boy,
there's on the Love Boat, and I actually talked to Bernie Capella about this. The guy who played Doc and was also Siegfried in the old Get Smart show. Love talking to him. Amazing guy. In his 80s, still razor sharp. And I'm like, I loved all the weird, especially as the show got older, groupings of celebrities. And they had, and this actually almost has a comic book tie to it, but from classic Hollywood, they had Lana Turner and Stuart Granger. And Stuart Granger played Alan Quatermain in the original King Solomon's Mines. And a great action hero, British. And in the story, he was Menudo's road manager. And there's a whole scene of Menudo and Lana Turner kicking a soccer ball. Like, they're kind of almost hacky-sacking with a soccer ball.
Yeah.
And then Lana Turner joins the circle, and she's kicking it back and forth with them and stuff. And I'm like, all right, I get Stuart Granger and Lana Turner, but with Menudo? And he's like, hey, I was just there along the ride. I don't know what to tell you. And then he told me what kind of asshole Lana Turner was on set. And then Stuart Granger was Breaking Bad.
I want to ask you a question. As a huge fan of, classic film and TV and stuff like that, do you think there are certain shows that should never be remade? Like,
yes.
Should the Twilight Zone have never been remade?
Well, as Black Mirror has shown us, and even
it's basically the Twilight Zone,
right? And even 90s Outer Limits, I think there were some exceptional episodes that the basic format can be done well. And I even think a couple of the UPN Twilight Zones from the 90s, and even a couple of the CBS and syndicated 80s Twilight Zones are quite well done.
There's a couple of them written by Ira Stephen Bear of Deep Space Nine that are pretty good.
Well, as I understood it, my old buddy Marty Pasco worked on the 80s show and was a story editor on the 80s show. And he was telling me that Bear took the show when he heard UPN was bringing it back, and he was just kind of like, let me run it because anybody else is going to fuck it up. They don't know what, it's a special show and it should be handled in a special way. And even he's like, did the best I could. But there were a couple really good ones, I agree.
Yeah.
They did the sequel to the classic Billy Mullaney.
Yeah. Yes, they did. That was really great.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, no, I agree. And the 80s one, the 80s one had a great, what if Elvis, an Elvis impersonator goes back, meets Elvis, and convinces him he's the ghost of Elvis's brother, Jesse Guerin, talking to him. And it's this crazy episode, but
for a second there, I thought you were describing Bubba Hotep.
Exactly. Or of course, I love Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep's a really good movie.
Walk Hard, when they do their run.
Walk Hard is such an underappreciated comedy gem.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
What did you think of the newest season of Discovery?
I was again.
I saw you did reviews for it every single week.
Yeah, it's funny. I felt the idea of the burn could have been intriguing. Mm-hmm. I really was disappointed in the finale and the execution. And also, they can't stop making it all. And I get it. It's about Michael Burnham. I get it. But to the expense of every other crew member, captain, whatever. And again, even the few episodes where she's not there, all they talk about is Michael Burnham. And it is so ignorantly annoying. And that literally they are moved to tears by Michael Burnham just being, or finally Saru, and the Admiral are like, hey, you're insubordinate. Guess what? You're not first officer anymore. You're doing the right thing, Saru. Hey, fuck you, Michael Burnham. I don't need your reinforcement that the guy's doing the right thing. Just shut up and eat your medicine. I'm sorry. She can't even, and I thought first of all, do you really need to change the name of a planet where the Vulcans and the Romulans are together?
Oh, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that.
Stupid. It was unnecessary.
That's actually a deep cut fan reference too.
There are Why? Tell me about Navarre.
It's like referencing a Star Trek fan magazine that was like released in the 1970s.
I didn't know that. That's
yeah. And they actually they did a thing where they called the planet Nivar. So
all right.
Yeah.
Well, again, smartest Vulcan in the room, Michael Burnham. Thank you, except for her mom. Oh boy! And by the way, that's a little too coincidental.
Yeah.
Mom winds up on Vulcan and part of the nun sect that we see in Picard and everything. It's like,
the Quat Malat. We might.
I'm proud of you for knowing that. I don't even know.
I can't say it.
There you go. Exactly. Michael is right. We don't mention disco around these parts. Exactly. Poor Michael.
Fair enough.
No, not at all. He's teasing us. But yeah, man. And also a very simplistic solution to. Again, it's your classic J.J. Abrams, and now Alex Kurtzman's doing enough. You got to attribute the mystery box to him, and they do get tiresome, and it's like, man, and again, they're in competition technically for eyeballs with MeTV showing them 6 nights a week, being the other shows and all being on streaming, and it's like there's just so much better examples of Star Trek that is there at the drop of a hat. You don't even need streaming with things like MeTV, and again, I just think so much better.
What did you think of Lower Decks?
So far that has been the new Trek that I've liked the most. Again, I think Mariner is another solver of the universe. Although I love the last episode where finally Boimler is like, "Hey, guess what? My dream came true. See you later."
I really like Lower Decks. I mean, when spoilers for the final episode, but it's been out for 5 months now.
At least.
When Riker shows up and he talks about the holodeck program that he had with Archer, and he was like, "Oh boy, that NXO crew getting from there to here. They took a long road to get from here." I laughed out loud. I cackled that they brought in that Faith of the Heart song into canon.
And also just his last word, like his engage is and 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, it's a jazz thing. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I like that he actually got to see the Titan. It's really good. I like that Riker is secretly becoming like the secret connection between all the shows.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And really, actually trying to hopefully put together the opportunity to talk to. Shame on me, Jonathan Frakes.
Are you trying to get Jonathan Frakes on the show?
Yes.
Whoa!
Longtime fan friend, I should say, longtime friend is friends with Frakes, and it's like, here's his email. And I told him you'll be talking to him. You know, I did talk to, haven't put it out yet. By the way, William Wells, love the Red Shirt Diaries. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
You should do for TNG, Yellow Shirt Diaries. Hilarious.
Well, unfortunately, Paramount shut down fan films pretty solidly about a couple years ago. So that is dead on arrival.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Now, is your stuff still up there, or did you have to yank it down?
Yeah, it's still up there. We just had to. Part of the rules is you just had to add like Star Trek is the property of Paramount, and as long as you did, if you were before their deadline, which was I think 2018, you're fine. And we were done before 2018 hit. So.
Yeah,
but I'm glad. Like, I mean, we basically made a 2-hour Trek. Film about like the lowest. I had such a fun. I think most of them hold up.
No, I think that's awesome, and I agree. They are fun, so that's terrific. God, it was so funny. They were pointing that Discovery put a new spin on Orions, and they had a montage photograph. I forget if it was Screen Rant or somebody ran an article, and they included the Star Trek Continues image of that Captain Kirk. Kissing an Orion. Yeah, Vic, whatever his name was. The Italian.
Yeah.
So
boy,
or whatever his name was.
Well, let me ask you this. So there's been all these rumors around.
Yes.
About them possibly doing a Star Trek crossover between the shows, or some sort of movie, some sort of special event, like an Avengers Endgame of like their Trek shows.
Sure.
And I don't know anything one way or another. I have no idea whether this is true or not. I just keep seeing articles about it. To be honest with you, think they should do it.
Fuck yes.
I think they should totally do it. And then
Yes.
I think they should get some more budget on that. And then when they do that, they should pay all the money to get Janeway and Cisco and Picard and Bakula to all be in a scene together.
That would be incredible. And it would. You're right. You're absolutely right. And if the marriage again between Paramount and CBS is back, I mean, it's Paramount, unfortunately, as you probably well know, had financial trouble prior to COVID.
Yes.
So it was already shitty times for Paramount. They just were really hurting for a hit.
Yeah, they're always. I mean, they basically they have Transformers and they have Mission Impossible.
Yeah, and I mean,
the last Transformers didn't do too well.
Right, and also as Rob Burnett points out on his YouTube show all the time, it's not like they're sitting on a pile of money. They have to go out and get loans, and that's kind of what put the kibosh on Star Trek 4. Was that they really had financial backing to satisfy what Chris Pine and Hemsworth wanted.
Oh man, that franchise, man, we could have so easily gotten 6 movies out of that group, and it blows me away that we didn't, because, well, one, those movies should not be that expensive. You should not be spending $300 million on a Star Trek movie. You should be spending $150. That's the max.
And that's the max because, good Lord, they did it on a shoestring with the original cast and even Next Generation. And why don't they take these lessons? It is so. And again, put more goddamn writing or money in the writing and less in the effects. And that sadly continues to this day.
Yeah, it's Trek is not like the big bombastic thing. It's always this. I mean, I've said for years that I would love to see a Star Trek movie that has like the tone of Annihilation, instead of Star Wars, because Star Trek has never been Star Wars, and also as a Star Trek fan, even I know that Star Trek is niche. It's always been niche.
Absolutely, and it's been smarter sci-fi.
Yes.
You don't need to dumb it down to pure action. I like 2009.
I do too.
Like JJ's first movie.
And I like Beyond. I like Star Trek Beyond as well.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some problems with the villain, but like there's a really good movie in there.
Yeah, but there's a lot of interesting things to look at and ideas as well, but it just it was better than Into Darkness, but it was still kind of a disappointment.
And this is a problem that I think doesn't exist exclusively to Star Trek. There is a problem in modern storytelling, especially like in television and in movies, where every big budget movie now builds to a kung fu fist fight. And I don't know why. I'm like, even movies that I don't think a kung fu fist fight would exist in, the climax of the movie is a kung fu fist fight. And you're like, this, I almost feel like if they were to remake Silence of the Lambs, the climax of Silence of the Lambs would be Clarice would have a kung fu fist fight with Buffalo Bill. And you'd be like, what is going on here?
That's outstanding. Jesus, man. You're not wrong. Hey, I got to tell you, I still haven't watched all of Wonder Woman 84. Watched a half hour, was bored.
Yeah, I mean,
I bailed.
Well, I will tell you this, without spoilers, that movie does not end with a kung fu fist fight, which I actually thought was a plus.
That's good because I, based on the trailers, assumed that's where we were going.
No, they don't. There is a fight pretty close to the end, but it's not the climax of the movie.
Okay, all right.
I actually appreciated I thought the climax of the movie was actually one of the smarter things it did. But I don't blame you for jumping out. There were some problems in that movie.
Michael Cooper, Star Trek Beyond was a good episode. I think they got a lot right in that one. Perhaps too late for the franchise. Great cast, though. I agree with that. And also, that's how I felt about Insurrection. Is a loaded good episode. Would have made an excellent hour.
Have you ever heard the original ideas for what Insurrection was supposed to be?
I have that Michael Piller book.
I do too. It is a fascinating read, and when you read the original plot of what Insurrection was supposed to be, you're like, oh my god, they should have made that movie.
And that's what I love about Mark Altman and I forget the name of his collaborator on his oral history, 70-year mission books about Star Trek. And
those are really great books.
Yeah, and also, God, I haven't cracked it open yet, but I have the James Bond one.
The James Bond one is really good. I finished that last year. It's really good.
That's cool. Yeah, no, and it's funny. I've talked in theory to Altman. He was just getting Pandora going.
Yeah.
His sci-fi show, which by the way is a good show.
I haven't seen it yet. It looks good.
It's a cool show.
I enjoy his podcast that Rob Burnett's on, Inglorious Trexperts.
Absolutely. No. Those guys all really know their stuff.
Every time they get like Brannon Braga on, it's like my favorite episode ever because I love. Well, one, I think Brannon Braga is a great writer, and I think he's a really good showrunner. And Brannon, I know you're listening to this. I would love to work with you someday. But I love that he's so far removed from Trek now that he's just like, here's all the skeletons. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I got it. I'll tell you, I wasn't as big of a fan of his writing as I was of Ron Moore's.
Yes.
But you're right about that, and I respect that. I also respect a lot of things that he made after Star Trek. And like you said, the one thing was, man, right at the end, when, as we were talking earlier about These Are the Voyages, the last episode of Enterprise, with Riker and Troy really taking the main stage in that, he went on Chase Masterson. Chase Masterson had a live audio streaming show.
Really?
Q&As, yes. And it went for like a year, 2 years. And I'm really glad. I met her about 10 years ago. And I'm like, back then, and I'm like, hey.
She's lovely. She's quite lovely. I've met her a couple times too.
Couldn't be sweeter. And I'm like, seriously, I'm a radio broadcaster. You did a great job on that show interviewing people. And frankly, I liked it better than her current Disco Night show because she's all in on all positive on disco. And that's okay. That's her opinion.
I haven't listened to that one.
Brannon was on right after These Are the Voyages. And he took live questions.
Oh, boy.
And they weren't on camera. They were all written.
What is the name of this show, John? I need to find it.
I can't find it anymore. I don't even.
Boy.
Man. Look up Chase Masterson audio Star Trek interview show.
All right, I'm going to track that down.
Because she had Connor Trinneer. She had Jolene Blaylock. She had Takei. I'm trying to remember other actors that she had on the show. And then she would have great writers as well. And truly, I was really impressed with Braga, saying everything we heard him and Rick Berman say about, God, we thought we were doing a cool thing and honoring the whole franchise.
Well, that's the great thing, too, is one of my favorite audio commentaries of all time, and that's a thing I miss. I miss audio commentaries, man. I wish more movies would do that, because I would love them. Or at least release them as a podcast like Ron Moore used to do for Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
Brannon Braga and Ron Moore did a commentary for Star Trek Generations, and it was when they did the special edition DVD, so it was like 10 years after, I think they released it in 2004, 2005, somewhere in there, but it was at least a decade since they wrote Generations.
Yeah.
And they're in the room, and they are, for most of the commentary, just being like, well, look, we thought this scene was a good idea, but oh boy, watching it now, sorry, guys. Like most of the commentary is them being like, look, at the time we were trying to be different because everybody thought Kirk was going to die on the bridge of a starship. So we thought, as young writers, the perfect thing is to not put him on the bridge of a starship. And then you hear them say in that commentary, oh, that was a mistake. Yeah. That was a wrong. They're like, we're sorry, we tried.
How about for Enterprise? And again, this was in Mark's 50-year mission books. That they approached Shatner about being on Enterprise and being Mirror Universe Kirk.
Yeah.
Which I thought was such an exciting idea, and it's such a missed opportunity. And
I
get the money right.
Yeah, the thing I always heard is that he asked for $100,000 just per episode to be on. And, I will tell you, as somebody who's intimately familiar with television budgets and stuff in the last couple of years, that is way too much for a guest star. That is way too much for a guest star. Like, to me, I was like, Shatner, you're more business savvy than that. Why did you make an offer you knew they would say no to?
Yeah, maybe you really didn't want to do it. By the way, it fascinates me, and I'm sure there's a real story, but the diminished role that official Star Trek seems to be placing on Kirk. I mean, my God, when it was Star Trek Day in September and they had the poster of everybody, a lot of the classic heroes and the classic captains had nice big pictures, and there's Kirk like the size of a postage stamp.
Oh, I didn't notice that at all. I mean,
check that out. And in fact, it got so bad. I don't know if you know, but like Shatner's like, here, let me fix that for you. Took himself out of the poster. And also that they had all of those great panels representing every show. And it's Will Wheaton and George Takei and Rod Roddenberry. I don't know what his relationship with Rod is, but we know that Takei hates him. We know that Will Wheaton doesn't like him. And it's just like, and he's going to, God, again, I wish no ill to William Shatner. He's one of my original heroes. And I know he could be a horse's ass. He's going to die soon.
Yeah.
And it's like, take advantage of the man still. Look at poor Adam West. Thank God he did as much as he did before he passed away, Yeah,
it's, I understand that Shatner has like legendary stories. Even you were talking about those oral history Star Trek books.
Yes.
There's legendary stories in there of like how he was on set. I don't know. I kind of wonder if that was just a marketing thing where the marketing people were just like, well, our CBS All Access show's got to be out front, because those are the ones that got to make money on. And
but they were proud of. They had nice big pictures of Sulu and Avery Brooks and all about representation. Mm-hmm. But the male white guy, yeah, fuck him. And I'm sorry, I keep like wanting to couch my frustration with that. I'm as liberal as they come, and I am thrilled that women, gay characters, and people of color are absolutely at the forefront of Star Trek. You can't do it enough, but don't forget in the 60s that what they did was pretty groundbreaking for the time. And secondly, do not diminish William Shatner. Sorry, he's fucking, I know he's an asshole. I know he could be difficult. Sorry, he's Captain Kirk. It's like Sean Connery and James Bond, and the producers ended up, he and the Bond producers never really reconciled.
The Broccoli's, yeah.
Yeah, Broccoli and well, I don't know how he felt about Harry Saltzman, the original co-producer, but absolutely the Broccoli family, fuck them. He wanted nothing to do with them. Still goddamn James Bond. I'm really sorry. And
there's a fascinating story with Sean Connery, and I know like he also was a problematic figure as well. When he came back to do Diamonds Are Forever, his ask was $1 million, which was unheard of at the time. But they paid it because he was Sean Connery. And then he took that $1 million and set up a scholarship fund for theater kids in Scotland.
And he also helped found the Bank of Scotland, or if it was already existing, they got a big payday. And the only other thing he asked for was, I want to direct my own little movie. And he directed this incredible, intense police drama called The Offense.
And I also think he asked for a Macbeth adaptation.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was 2 movies. I think it was that one and it was Macbeth.
Well, regardless, he got his pound of flesh because unfortunately the Lazenby movie didn't do well, and they're like, all right, we need you back. And it's like,
I like that.
Fine, these are my demands. And and again, this is movies, and certainly it was close enough to getting Sean back was a massive event. And I love the whole real story behind Thunderball and the other producer, Kevin McClory.
Oh yeah.
who did Never Say Never Again. But
I don't count Never Say Never in the canon, man. It is.
Well, it's an alternate.
It is so weird, and also
Kelvin, it's Kelvin.
Do you like Thunderball?
I appreciate all the crazy shit in Thunderball
because I'm not a fan of that movie. I like the song. I'm not a fan of that movie.
All the underwater shit. You got to understand, man. Like in the mid-60s,
at the time, it was huge.
Underwater was just as exotic and exciting as moon landings.
Yeah,
were.
But 30 minutes of that movie is underwater fighting at slow motion. You're just like, this is boring.
I understand.
I like old movies.
No, you're right about that. But honestly, like all those submarines and even all the frogmen and shit, I'm always like, it's so funny. And it's a cheeseball show, and thank God it's only a half hour. I love Sea Hunt, Lloyd Bridges.
Oh, and, God, I forgot about that.
I only had 10 minutes of oxygen in my tank, and there was nowhere to go. And that's pretty much the climax of every...
for a minute there, I thought you were referencing Sequest DSV, that weird NBC show with a talking dolphin. And Peter DeLuise, Dom DeLuise's son, is on that show.
Yes. It's funny you mentioned that because Talent Talk, I've been doing stuff for Talent Talk the last couple of months. And Lee Goldberg is a mystery novelist who also worked on several detective shows. He worked on Monk. He worked on Diagnosis Murder with Dick Van Dyke. and also did Sequest back in the day.
Oh boy!
So,
man.
Unfortunately, I was sick and I wasn't able to do the interview with Lee, but I was really looking forward to talking to him about Sequest, Diagnosis Murder. I wondered if he and Jerry Conway, how much they crossed paths, because they both wrote for Diagnosis Murder.
Oh
back
yeah, they might.
I don't know if they'd go off into teams and not have a real writer's room back then or not.
I don't know. Oh boy, this is.
We're all over the place, but
we are all over the place.
I love when we do this, so that's fine. Here's some comments of
oh boy,
shit that everybody is saying. Skits comic, hey Jason,
hey,
everybody's doing well. Let's see. Oh, here. First of all, Mike's like, I know it's terrible, but I adore the Gil Gerard campy '70s Buck Rogers. Great opening narration. Yes, William Conrad, Cannon, Jake and the Fat Man is the year is 1980.
Yes, and that's coming back. George Clooney's Buck Rogers.
Which is fantastic.
Which is crazy, man.
That's awesome. It's amazing. You know, I'm really hoping Mark Miller gets Starlight back.
I agree.
Because that is so, like, ready to happen as a movie.
Is 20th Century Fox still have that?
I'm assuming so. And okay. I know he's waiting for the option to be done so he can get it back and, make it with Netflix and everybody.
That is my favorite comic of his.
Me too. And I got.
By the way, speaking of cats, I didn't realize this. Hold on, let me see if I can get if you can see him. Well, you probably can't. He's literally in that chair. That's awesome. In. He snuck in while we were talking. I don't think you can see him.
I'll solo you if
I don't know. Well, no, I don't know if you can see it. Hold on.
No, that's okay.
I think the mic is in the way. You can see his tail. There's his tail dangling.
I see him now behind you. Yeah,
it's right. He's right there.
That's awesome. Definitely. No, but I agree. And I agree, Michael. I'm a massive Gil Gerard fan. In fact, this past weekend, the rerun they showed was from the first season, and it was called Happy Birthday, Buck, and Marty Pasco wrote it.
Oh, I saw your picture of that. Oh, man.
Seriously, that's
I only got to talk to Marty Pasco once, and I just loved. He just had like such an incredible sense for story, and he had this amazing passion for Superman. Like I'm a huge Superman fan as well, and he topped me, and he was so much like, and then there's this from the Silver Age, and then there's this from the Legion of Superheroes, and there's this Jimmy Olsen thing, and it was like talking to a kid in a candy store, except about Superman. It was astounding. I'm so glad I got to talk to him before he passed.
Yeah, really was a good friend of mine for over 10 years, and I'm still bummed that he's not with us anymore. And what a missed opportunity! Although he might have, just because of the volume of stories that he had, might have taken over that 50 Years of Superman panel I put together for August's Mainframe Con, and we had Paul Kupperberg, and we had. And Elliot Maggin, and Jerry Ordway. Am I forgetting? Was there a fourth? I know Dan Jurgens, of course.
Of course. You have to have Dan Jurgens.
And by the way, goddamn, I love that 2-part story that he co-wrote with Andy Schmidt that has all the heroes from different DC.
Generations?
Yeah, Generation Shattered.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Holy shit. That was just so much fun to read. And it's like, oh, look, there's Superboy, the real Superboy. I mean, and again, taking nothing away from Connor Kent and, John, they're great characters, but it is so nice to see the adventures of Superman when he was a boy. It's like,
it's so funny on the podcast recently, we had Adam Mallinger, who is the writer's assistant on Superman and Lois on Geek History Lesson.
Oh, great.
And we had this great conversation, and we got to a certain point where we were talking like best Superman stories and whatnot, and I asked him the question, and we kind of all agreed on the same answer. We were like, who do you think is like the most influential Superman creator of all time? And we all settled on Dan Jurgens simply because we were like, I don't know of any other creator that has like added that much and has done as many different runs as he has. Like Dan is like, if you were to collectively add it all together, I think Dan has worked on Superman for like 16 years.
Wow, and you're right about that as far as probably concurrent if you put all the runs together. But just the fact that he's been writing the character for now 4 decades is real. 4, 80s, 90s, 20s, and
80s, 90s, 2000s, and the 10s,
He's going into his 5th decade. I mean, that's why it was, and really, I love Bendis, but it was great. He and Gene Yang did an interview with Dan, and he's like, between the three of us, it's 30 years of Superman writers. I'm like, that's great. I added Paul Kupperberg and Elliot Maggin. I got 50 years of Superman, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's great. He was cool about it. But yeah,
That's
I'm like,
so
yeah,
funny.
sorry, let me up the ante. Because truly, I agree with you. And Dan, another guy like this is Chuck Dixon. Some guys, they just know the secret sauce recipe.
Yeah.
And they can apply it to any story. And I loved his Nightwing run. I love his Batman Beyond run. I mean, really.
And his Booster Gold. Don't forget his Booster Gold.
Course, well, that's the classic, of course.
Yeah. The classic one and the second one. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. No, he's just, Dan gets it. Dan understands the DC universe. I understand why they go to him a lot of times for the big events and stuff. And that's why Generation Shattered, and I don't know I forget what the second part's going to be called coming up this month, but it's just fucking terrific.
Yeah.
And
there is something about and this is, I think, something that's missing in modern superhero comic books, especially from the big two, is that there's just something so amazing about just sort of a done-in-one adventure where you don't... It doesn't connect to Year of the Villain or Night in Black and all this stuff. You're just like, we're just going to read a really solid story with a really bunch of heroes. They beat the thing, and it ends. And you're just like, so good.
I agree, and I'm glad to see that on the digital side, we're seeing a lot of that. And truly, and if not even one and dones, and even two-parters. And yeah, man, no, there are a ton of story, tons of character, and goddamn, those aren't even full 22-page or 20-page stories.
No, they're really, usually, I think, about 10.
Yeah, and I guess again, the way they read on screens, they feel like full story, full issues to me. And also I love the anthologies and the specials they do to coincide with Valentine's Day or summer.
Yeah.
Or
well, let's talk about this a little bit. Okay, so
sure.
There's the newer DC comics and stuff like that, they're all getting backups, which I freaking love. I think it's awesome. It makes the comics a little beefier. Do you think it's a good move for comics to go that way? I honestly think it is, because I think it makes comics a little bit more like manga. It makes comics a little bit more like the 100-page giants, and because sometimes you feel, and I definitely felt this when I was at my height of comic book collecting, and I was buying almost everything on the rack. You do sometimes feel like you're getting cheated if you're only getting 20 pages for $3.99. But if you're getting 48 to 62 for $6.99, then you're like, okay, this is a real thing.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And I was saying this when they were $2.99, and where's this going to stop?
Yeah,
because eventually I'm like, we're getting close. I mean, God, and even in the $2.99 era, Marvel had their handful of $3.99 books.
Yes.
And I remember talking directly to Buckley, never on the air or on the, they would just hang out conventions, and I'm like, Dan, what's the ceiling? I'm like, I go, I love what you're doing, and I really respect you guys from a talent standpoint. You've got great people writing and drawing these books, but it's you guys are going to hit your ceiling, and when it gets to $5 a comic, people are going to go, what's my $5 buying? And I mean, just again, an old man, but I remember when when they were only $1 each, and I could walk into a store.
So wait for you to say a dime.
Oh, and I don't go that far back. I do go back. I was a very little kid.
I remember when talkie started. No, I apologize.
No, it's all good, man. Good. We'll all get there. You guys will get there too.
Yeah, I know. We're all going to get old. It'll be fun.
Absolutely, man. It's cool. But no, you're right. I was at the very end people would buy me comics in the 12-cent era. When I started buying comics on my own, I was 7 with a 50-cent allowance, and comics were 20 cents. That's when I really started reading. And I would get the 100-page spectaculars for 50 cents or whatever. And when the dollar comics came out in the very late 80s, they were worth it. And again, even through the 90s and stuff, as I started to say, when I would walk in with $20 and was working and was a working 20-something, I got a nice stack of comics. I got 10 comics or 20 comics. Even the $2, I'm like, all right, I'm still getting 10 comics. I feel like my 20's actually buying something. When it became less than 4, I'm like, you guys are in trouble. So no, I think this is a good thing. And also, I loved reading this first wave of Future State because we're getting good examples of the backups in there. And I just talked to Rob V about how he's going to do Justice League Dark in the back of Justice League. And it's going to be great. And again, I think all of these current writers that they've got have been trained to write in 10-page format.
Yes.
So I think we're getting better stories.
Yes, and I think as well, like they're doing the digital format is such a genius idea. It's such a great way to like test out. I almost think every character that they have in their catalog should have a digital comic book because it's a great way to start out new artists and new writers and just give everybody a shot. And if they're good, you can move them on, and if not, well then you can say like, well, hey, you got your shot.
I completely agree. William Wells asks if we've ever seen Red Dwarf. I have. I'm a big
I've
fan.
never seen Red Dwarf. I've always heard about it though.
It's very funny. It's very funny. So
that's Peter Weller, right? Is he?
No. It was British. No, it's totally British.
I thought Peter Weller was in Red Dwarf. What am I thinking about? Oh,
maybe Odyssey 5.
Oh, that is what I'm thinking about. Okay.
I loved Odyssey 5. Great. It was Manny Cotto's show before Enterprise and before 24. Fantastic idea. And a lot of those I've seen on YouTube.
They're streaming, though, I think.
Oh, Odyssey 5 probably is streaming somewhere.
I mean, everything's streaming at this point.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Even our wedding videos.
Sadly, you're right. I'll let you go, man. No, as always, we always have fun talking, but I'll remind everyone once again, because we've strayed away from the main point.
Good.
That is Super Best Friend, the Kickstarter. Congratulations. I know you've met your initial goal, but now it's time for the stretch goals.
Yeah, we're going to the stretch goal, which is $12K. We're like less than $700 away. And if you've enjoyed the conversation and you want a 48-page superhero comic book, superbestfriendcomic.com will take you right to the campaign.
Excellent, man. No, as always, congratulations.
Thank you, John.
You in the best ways, put me to shame with your productivity. Honestly,
I fake it very well.
You are Felix Unger to my Oscar Madison. There's no doubt, and we would drive each other crazy if you wouldn't want to live with me.
No, but this has been a blast, man. I love talking to you, and man, God, I hope we can do it at a San Diego Comic Con.
I hear you, buddy. I know, and thank God we've got this because it's always great to talk to you and Ash. You know that.
Well, you've been killing it, man. Your word balloons have been just. I feel like you're a 24-hour word balloon channel now, as much as which is fantastic, man.
Again, it's as you know, it's for me, it's as social as it is just doing the show and doing it for everybody. I'd be bugging you guys anyway, just to talk privately about shit. That's the truth, and I mean, I could say that for a good 50 of my regulars, and having that many regulars, plus still getting new people. I mean, my God, finally talked to. Kyle Jansen, and he'll be coming on for the first
wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, and other doors are opening. So, and I meant to tell you, and real fast, I will point this out because it will force me to get this episode out this week. I spoke with Cybok himself, the great Lawrence Luckenbill.
What?
I had a 2-hour conversation with him. He has a graphic novel. He has adapted his one-man stage play of Teddy Roosevelt into a very good graphic novel. Is it
called Bully, the Roosevelt story?
It's called Teddy. And it's really, really amazing. And thank God I watched the Ken Burns documentary because I could speak to him with command about the subject. But we spent at least 22 and a half hours on Star Trek V.
I am looking forward to the episode. And then second off, I want to just say, wrap this all up. I think it's insane that somebody hasn't cast Nick Offerman in a Teddy Roosevelt biopic yet.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've ever since I saw that guy in Parks and Rec, I was like, he's Teddy Roosevelt.
That's fantastic. And I would match that with Discovery. You really want to impress me? Give me a flashback scene of the dinner table with Cybok, Spock, and Burnham. Why not? Why not? And truly, there's your opportunity to have in front of Sarek 3 very distinct personalities.
I think
challenge Sarek.
I think that scene would just be Sarek and Amanda and Spock sitting at a table, and then they're just eating quietly, and then every once in a while you hear a knock, 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 and the camera turns, and Burnham and Cybok are like, "Can we come in?" And they're like, "No."
Or I could see the 2 of them at each other's throats. Her taking the logic standpoint, Cybok taking more the human standpoint, and Sarek and Amanda looking very embarrassed while they have to listen to what would be a classic kid argument at the dinner table. Well, seriously, I know J.K. Woodward likes all of my Star Trek story ideas. And he's like, we got to do one of those for IDW. I'm like, say the word, man.
Oh man, it's Burnham just screaming at him, "What does God need with a starship?" And it's Cyborg just screaming back, "Who the hell is the Red Angel?"
Well, but you could, the subtext of you don't get it. No, you don't get it.
Yeah. No,
You're
let
an
me
idiot.
explain it to you. No, let me explain it to you.
And really, like, especially Cybok coming back to her going, you are, like, abandoning everything that is worthwhile of your race to adopt this Mickey Mouse world that my father is subjugating us into.
And as we've learned, it will lead to a kung fu fist fight.
Which absolutely why.
I'd read that comic book by John Suntress. I'd read it.
God bless you, son. Well, I can guarantee, having read the first half of Super Best Friend, I'm quite impressed.
No, thank you, man.
We'll leave it up there, actually, as we wrap up. And because everyone knows we've been talking to Jason Inman about Super Best Friend. Check out the Kickstarter campaign. Still plenty of time to get involved, get him over those stretch goals. And as always, congratulations, Jason. Well done.
Thank you, man. Dude, it's always a pleasure to come on Word Balloon, one of my favorite podcasts of all time.
Well, I feel the same way. Hey, I'll shame you. When do I get to do geek history lesson?
We just got to figure out the subject, man. The problem, you see, this is the thing. You are so knowledgeable about everything that I only want to like fire the John Suntress bullet for something that, like, that we wouldn't embarrass ourselves by having you on.
Well, how about and I don't know how much you've read of it already, but how about Agents of Atlas? Given that Jimmy Woo is now appearing on.
Is that confirmed now? Are they doing an Agents of Atlas?
Well, no. I still haven't seen the 4th episode. It was told to me that Agent Woo appeared on camera.
He does,
and it's like, well, there's Jimmy Woo, and Jimmy Woo is absolutely, truly one of my favorite 1950s Marvel characters.
And Randall Park is fantastic,
which is awesome.
Yes.
And also just it was created by Al Feldstein, the EC creator.
Mm-hmm.
He created it. And yes, and I know, and I totally understand and agree that unfortunately the Yellow Claw is certainly an inappropriate villain by name, but Jimmy Woo was the positive counterweight to the Yellow Claw and was this great Japanese secret, or Chinese, I believe Chinese, forgive me,
mm-hmm.
Secret Service agent, and a great positive Asian American character. And I think the sky's the limit to do classic Cold War secret agent stuff with Jimmy Woo. So
we'll have to do a team up. We'll get you on. We'll get you on this year. We'll do a team up. We'll do a Word Balloon Geek List team up.
Yeah,
we'll have to get you on one of their. We always do these top 5 lists, and I think you'd be fantastic for it.
God, we should simulcast. Seriously, I'd be.
We do it. Yeah,
that would be great.
I'm making the note right now. We'll have you on. We'll figure it out.
All right, best to Ash, and we'll talk soon.
We'll do, man. Take care, buddy.
You too, buddy. That was Jason Aaron, everybody. You can see his book there, Super Best Friend. And thanks a lot for watching Word Balloon Live tonight. We've got a few things in motion. I'd tell you specifically who, but they're kind of up in the air. But hoping to have some great guests definitely in the next couple of days. I've been catching up on the audio side as well. Mr. Luckenbill did not do video. He only did audio, and that's totally fine. 2 tremendous hours. I'm going to chop it up for the YouTube channel as both the full conversation, but also a Star Trek specific hunk, because I know Star Trek people will want to hear from Cybok. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy.